Hey guys, it's Sunday afternoon, just after 1:15, and we're live. We're going to see where the conversation takes us. No idea off the top of my head, um, which is sometimes the best way to approach anything, especially a conversation. Because if you come there with something fixed, there's little room for it to move. There's little room for it to become something other, for the spontaneity to um, take its course. Which reminds me, um, watching the GFTS podcast podcast um, early this morning. If you guys aren't checking them out, it's Gainsborough, um, Crusade Motivation, Aldo, um, Osiris, Old Dog Fitness, and reoccurring guest from time to time. Always a fun time to watch, and always something meaningful for them to discuss back and forth. Always enjoy watching them, even if I can only catch the first 10, 15 minutes sometimes. Um, but if you can, check it out. If you're not, definitely do so. Um, Today they were talking about um, monotony as far as training, which for me, I try not to distinguish too much between my training and my regular life. It's all life. It's all just one thing happening, displayed, life being displayed, different arenas, different avenues. Um, the key is to watch it, to let it participate. Um, it occurred to me that the monotony of something, being bored with something, that we're the ones who make a big deal over that. If something's monotonous, why is that necessarily a bad thing? Why does it have to become something um, different, of interest, of um, always, my words aren't working for me today, that we always have to be stimulated at all times, it seems. We can't just be whatever it is we are right now. It has to be different. In Buddhist terms, in yogic terms, yogic psychology, that would be the basis of suffering. Not accepting the way things are. When you think of chords in music, how many chords are there? I actually don't know. Here's what I do know. AC/DC, maybe one of the most famous 3-chord bands in history. Um, how many do you need to produce great music? Is playing the same chords over and over again monotonous, or is it an avenue of creativity? What can you do with what you have? The amazing thing to me is, and I posted this during their discussion, we think of, our training, endless repetitions, especially those of us who practice high rep bodyweight stuff, particularly burpees. Brutal thing to practice in high reps. But it's never monotonous, because every single rep is different, presenting its own challenges, its own unique expression, its own unique imprint. And then we get a fresh new rep and we dive back in. You could say, it's 200 reps, 6 counts, 100 reps of mountain climbers or Navy SEALs. Is that monotonous? Or is it 100 and some different opportunities to see what is arising right now in this moment. How is this rep affecting your body? How is it affecting your breath? What's going to happen when you go back down for that next rep? Are you even going to be able to get back up? Who knows? Who knows if gravity is even going to cooperate with you? It might press down even harder, or it might lift you up. You might get the perfect rep, that perfect rep that's been eluding you for the previous 99. Or you might realize that every single rep is perfect, just the way it is, however it is, even the ones that hurt the most, even the ones that seem to be going askew. It's not often I get to use the word askew. So I throw it in there when I have the opportunity. So everything is a spontaneous, once upon once a time occurrence to never ever be. How could that ever be boring? How could it ever be monotonous? It's impossible. However, we can interpret it that way. That's the whole meaning. If you've ever read or read through A Course in Miracles, it's a spiritual, psychological, psycho-spiritual workbook and textbook to go through to bring about the, as they might say it, the demolishing the ego so that spirit can shine forth. I don't see it that way. I don't believe the ego needs to be demolished, destroyed, just recognized, just seen for what it is, that it's an opinion, it's a thought. It's a gathering of thoughts, a mental imprint repeated over and over again. Now that is monotonous. Same old thoughts, thinking that that's me. But the awareness that is aware of those thoughts, that is never, never monotonous. And that's who we are. So we can view the ego, how it works through our life, the mischief that it gets into, the trouble that it brings to us. And just smile. That's what St. Francis would do. He would often refer to himself in the third person because that pure awareness that he was now working through, working as, would just be bemused by poor Francis. He thinks he's hungry. He thinks he's tired. He thinks he's sad, whatever. I'm not saying that we have to think of ourselves in the third person, or even that it's the most positive way to go through life. However, to realize that we're not a fixed entity. And when we realize that, boredom is an impossibility because everything's in motion, everything's in flux. What's going to happen next? We have no idea. We might think that we do. And that's the thing. We might think, hey, what's that thought? It's a brand new thought. It's a brand new mental vibrational pattern coming up that I didn't have before. Brand new, right here. And I'm thinking that it's me. However, take some time to explore that. And you'll see that nothing is ever monotonous, ever. It's an impossibility. Because you've never had the same thought. It might seem that way. But you have a thought and it's gone. Completely gone. It's a vibratory pattern. Vanished. Now you might have a similar thought. Might be on the same theme. But it's not the same thought. Ever. So when you can start viewing all of that, you've cured the human condition of boredom, of dissatisfaction. You've escaped the means of psychological suffering. Doesn't mean you're not going to experience all the highs and lows of life, the 10,000 things, as they would say in Taoism, 10,000 things of life, still going to come at you, still going to be your experience, as they should be. You're part of life. You're a participant. You're not a mere observer. Awareness is aware of itself. It's not aware of something separate from itself. Awareness is just aware. So We are aware of ourselves being human, doing the same shit over and over and over again. We're aware of ourselves doing burpees, probably shrugging. What the hell? You got nothing better to do than bounce something down your basement floor 200 times in 20 minutes? Obviously not. So it's just a way of reframing, of looking at ourselves. I was talking about A Course in Miracles, and then I got off on this tangent about the ego, and I forgot to mention the whole reason I mentioned Course in Miracles is how some of the first few exercises they have you participate in is looking around the room, looking out the window, and reminding yourself throughout the day that nothing you see has any meaning inherently. It stands alone, it stands apart as far as meaning is concerned. If you think of Mount Everest, does it have the meaning of the highest mountain? It didn't have such a meaning until it was measured. Does it have the meaning of being unclimbable for ages? It didn't have that meaning until somebody tried to climb it. Point at anything. Does it have any inherent meaning until you think it does? Without that thought, it simply is. Glorious and wonderful just in its existence, without any need for you to point and give it meaning. Think about that time when you were doing the same thing over and over again. Now do the same thing over and over again without thinking about it. Is it still monotonous? Or is it just what you're doing? Is it just an spontaneous arising of an event? That's the great thing about realizing things have no inherent meaning of their own. We get to provide things with meaning, if we so choose. We can give it the meaning of a monotonous over and over and over again experience, or we can give it the meaning of this spontaneous arising event that is full of wonder and joy and love. It's our call. Nothing has any inherent meaning until we come along and provide it. That's pretty miraculous when you think about it. So, speaking of meaning, I don't really come here, to provide meaning, just to have a talk. I think of this similar to my blog. For me, it's sort of an art form. Maybe not a great art form. Maybe one I'm not very good at. Doesn't matter. I get to give it the meaning that I want. So I come here and I open up the conversation. Sometimes friends join me and we'll have a conversation, me responding to what they write. Sometimes I'm here on my own. What I'd like to do, though, really, really striving to keep things relatively short. Relatively. I've talked for over an hour when my friends show up. I've talked for over an hour, just me sometimes, if I'm going off on a subject. But for the most part, not that I'm trying to make a point, but if I'm going around in circles for 20 minutes, there's no point to that at all. So 10, 15, 20 minutes. Spontaneous conversation. It might sound monotonous, but for me, it's spontaneous and it's joyful, and I'm happy to do it every time. It's always a new conversation. So my goal, such as it is, keep things short. With that, I'm going to sign off for the day. Got some things to do. I mentioned yesterday that I'm doing a certification class on yogic psychology, as well as some other classes that are popping up and shaping my continued education in the world of yoga, the world of Vedanta, the world of all kinds of stuff, fun stuff. I'm enjoying it. Um, Things that I'll be talking about when I show up here. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for anyone who watches this. Um, if you like it, let me know. Leave a comment. And uh, I never say subscribe if you want, because I figured if you haven't subscribed, you wouldn't be here. You would know nothing about this conversation. But if somebody stumbles across it, by all means, go ahead. I would appreciate it. And always feel free to leave a comment or to join me live. I'd enjoy it. You guys have a good day, and I will see you tomorrow morning for some burpees. Take care.